If I start out this video by speaking in English but with the Tagalog accent and a bit of a poor camera, there are so many Western supremacists in the country thinking the West or being whitewashed is better. Would you watch it still? Chances, maybe not, because this guy definitely doesn't know what he's talking about. Maybe yes, because you're a good person and not a classist and you want to hear the guy out. And you don't see the canal humor or aircon thing as a phenomenon, or you don't apply it. And you're not miserable like these fucking people. Or another, you're gonna watch me because you're gonna make fun of me and say, let's hear this stupid fucking video at. Well, you're not gonna get it from here. Question for the Filipinos. If I didn't ask you at first if you would watch me if I have the accent and I spoke with the Filipino accent from the start, there's a higher chance probably you would have clicked away. But this colonial mentality phenomenon doesn't only happen with the accent, and it's not the accent. Problem is, okay, you're watching me. You get the innate feeling of just not thinking it's something worth watching. You click away, you forget about me, and it is what it is.
It's time to go to a picnic, but not just any picnic.
That's the problem. You think there's a better choice. And it's not with the accents only happening, of course. It's with everything. A lot. I want to share my views with you and figure out if I should delete this video or be hailed as the new cult leader. If white supremacists, or Western glazers rather, disappeared, India and my country would be gone, and a lot more. And I have heard people say the same thing. I hear other people ask Pinoys and it goes like this. Hey, what's your nationality? Unfortunately, Philip. What do you mean, unfortunately? What do you mean? So you do hate your own people? That's one example to prove to you that this is an ongoing thing and I'm coming from somewhere. Maybe I didn't need to prove it actually, but why does this happen? Take a guess. We were colonized before social media. Wait, what? What did you say? Did you just say? No, I'm on video. I can't actually hear you. I'm sorry. But let me give you my answers. Are you ready?
Nalulungkot po namin ipaalam sa inyo that Francis Magalona passed away this 12 noon.
That was a good little intro. Let's get to the video now. Let's start with the basics. Social media. This is what I did in the first part of the video actually. I did the thing already. The accent. I didn't want to risk speaking in my accent in fear of you clicking away. Yes, I'm victimizing myself here. But I can't be the only one who thinks this way. Alright, let's double down. After I do my accent, imagine I just filmed my video the way another typical Filipino would do it. You rich people thinking you're just rich. They got everything in the world. No more worrying. Quick note, I actually saw Wiro make a video about this similarly. I wrote a script and everything and scrapped the video because of school, and then he dropped his video months later. So I'm still gonna make this video because it's different and completely rewritten. So quick shout out to him. Let's go back. Social media is a big factor on why things like these happens. Okay, I was supposed to show a bunch of clips of like people having American humor and everything, but for some reason I just can't find it now. Also, I'm naked editing this. I know I'm not fucking crazy. You guys know my point. Okay, I can stop holding my craps. Social media is a big factor on why things like these happens. And this is the first of a few factors. Get ready because this is where the video actually starts. So strap in. I beg you, please pay attention. This is the type of video you don't just put in the background. Stop whatever you're doing. Okay, so there's a bunch of things that I won't include here, like the factors. It's gonna be politics, economics, and I think economics is gonna be mentioned but not talked about a lot. So let's talk about the genre of people first, alright? In my eyes, there are two separate groups of people here who also has two separate respective behaviors. So that's 6 groups, 2 umbrella terms and 2 under them. We have the typical, or what some of you may call Indios, and another which is, let's just call them cultured. Cultured! Probably sabi ng Indio. I also don't want to call them Indios because personally it's too derogatory or a bit of a classist take. I really don't know what to call it, but for now let's call them Typicals first. I have no clue how it works for your country if you're not a Filipino watching this, but let's do my country and let's see the similarities. Typicals. I'm not gonna give a disclaimer, masyado kayong mahirap pasayahin. Classes na kong classes pero di ako white supremacist. Typicals, coined by MQZEP, is a term that can be used to describe a person or a genre of people in a certain country who follow colonial mentality or, if not in a post-colonized situation, the Western ways. But they don't make it their identity. God bless to you, I aspire to be you. These people doesn't take much to be happy, or in my place, mababa ang kaligayahan. But not really. It's hard to explain. These people are formed by easily spread mainstream media on their country's respective main social media platform. In my case, it's Facebook. So with that information, did you take that in? I hope so. Rewind if you didn't, because I'm gonna be explaining, and what I'm about to explain is groundbreaking stuff. So let's group them. The whole Team Payaman, Typicals. Tony Fowler, Typicals. Custacly, Typical. Floji, Shantidope, Cyber Sigilism Microbanks Girl, Typicals. Nick Makino, Typical. Al James, Typical. Wamos Cruz, Typicals. Gray sweatpants, double lining, blue shirt girls, Typicals. Hevabi, cultured. Hevabi culture. I can't do that fucking thing. I'm sorry. Four of Spades, cultured. Razziebinx, Redditors, Red users. This can be both Typicals or cultured, but they're cultured. VTubers, cultured. Basketball players, Typicals. Generally. Esneer, typical. The Gonzaga sisters, typical. Football or soccer players, cultured. Taylor Swift listeners, Typicals. Fashion motherfuckers, Typicals. Manila University students, specifically Mapua and CIIT students, or actually just creative art courses, or just students who take on Bachelor of Art programs, creative or art-based programs. People who has LED strip lights, typical. ML players, CODM players, ML players, CODM players, typical. Valo players, too broad. XC bikers, typicals. People with braces, I'm kidding. Minecraft players, cultured. Dog show divas. If you know dog show divas, they're actually really good. But typical. If this gets to dog show divas somehow, kakalimutan ko kay lahat because I made it. Okay, so you may disagree with me here a lot, and let me justify first. I'll explain. So I said earlier, these factors, I grouped them into four. One being social media. Can you try to guess the others? Social media at 1, 2, games, 3, media, 4, childhood. Yes, these four filter us into, I would like to group into 6 labels or terms of the spectrum of cultured and typicals, and this is why it's America's fault. For now, where do you think you belong? Typical or cultured? If you said typical, don't worry just yet. If you said cultured, you're cringe. But don't click away just yet. Let me do my thing. So we grouped earlier a bunch of people, and I can explain why they are in their respective group with the 4 factors. I didn't include economics here as a factor, alright? Even though it is a major factor, but at the same time, it's also not. You'll understand why later. So, typicals. They are taking in mainstream information on Facebook. Actually, since I'm coining typical, let's call them ratbubus and pudaydays. So these are the meanings. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not that type of person. I'm just funny. I just laugh at myself because I'm funny. So let's actually call them Upod. Underdeveloped, Pinoys, or developed. And Upod means worn out. I fucking cooked. So here, they can be worn out to new stuff, so they chose to not develop, or worn out to old stuff, so they did develop. So Upods, they're taking in mainstream information on Facebook. Let's add TikTok as well. And of course, the influencers and content they watch. The Americans play in here because of course, Americans are all over the internet. They craft videos and of course, a lot of the lifestyle videos. And when the cultured, hindi ko talaga kaya. And when the cultured do these types of videos or copies them, our Upods shame them. This is maybe through smart shaming, ad hominem, or attacking them with their looks, and other actions similarly. Quick pause, please don't leave yet. I do not want to call you cultured, it's fucking cringe. Let's call you Ghooners. Gentrified heads on own natural environment, recalculating supremacy. I spent a bit of time thinking this, and please, just use it. It's not that cringe, just go along with it. So yeah, Upods shame Ghooners, which is good. Be proud of your own country. But when it's the other way around, Ghooners shame the Upods. Now we're on to nice, and it's wrong. Some of the Ghooners actually attacks Ghooners too, like saying things, you're a classist, this and that. And they do this whole bullshit intellectual exercise by Ghooner 1, turning into an argument about exercising their intellectual Ghoonerness by Ghooner 2. Then finally, after the intellectual exercise, Ghooner 1 gooning Upods then gets gooned by Ghooner 2 for gooning on Upods. So they get gooned with Goonerness from Ghooner 2 gooning their own. So the Upods gets gooned all over on by Ghooner 1, Ghooner 2, and they can live happily ever after because the Ghooners gooned on their fellow Goonies defending the Upods. So Ghooner to goon, gooning Goonerness. So Ghooners is basically, I think it's right to call them diplomats? Diplomatic? But yeah. And also miserable, stupid people. So I said Ghooners too much, it might remove the meaning. So cultured! The cultured or Ghooners are basically fighting each other. And well, it's America's fault. Ow! Well, aren't you listening? I just explained why! No, in a nutshell, if you didn't understand, which I assume you don't, the OG Filipinos is chilling. Maybe not too attractive looking in the Philippines media standards. This matters. We get some stuff from other countries, like food, culture, and a bunch of other stuff. The OG Filipinos will try that. This can just be like social climbing, which isn't bad itself. Going to Starbucks, playing golf, or watching a good Netflix show, or watching F1 even. And when they act too natural, like it's a part of their lifestyle, the cultured or Ghooners calls them out and make fun of them, saying it's not their culture. You're not allowed to do white people stuff because you're an Indio. And basically, the Ghooners or cultured people fight and defend the Upods because it's wrong to just degrade people like that. That's just human nature. You're not supposed to do that. So you might even call me out here speaking in another language. Oh, so MQZF, you're a Ghooner. Yeah, look, Ghooner, Upod, whatever. I'm MQZF. I just use these terms so it's not confusing. And what about me speaking in English? It is our language anyways. I might prove my video here how some people may act with how I'm explaining things. Just speaking in English. Smart shaming me. I'm not smart, but shaming me. MQ shaming. And that out of the way, let's head to memes too. Listen carefully. This is real as shit. Remember the biggest beefsteak? Before, when it happened, okay, it did go viral a bit. It was a funny mistake, beefsteak. It went viral again. I saw some overproud Upod saying, "Me from the Philippines." Let's not get started too with the overproud Upod. Well, they're not Upods. They're not Upods. Let's just discuss that later. But my point, I saw, why does it need for Western or any other country's validation or approval in our country to be deemed good? Fucking tell me why! Even the thing that I'm doing, the word repeating thing from the typicals, Ghooners culture hate that, but suddenly it's acceptable to some because the Kardashians
Dangerous.
and Redman Rock,
Exaggeration.
or they do that. I'm giving a bit of insight for media on the next thing that I'm going to be talking about. But since I mentioned Western approval before local pride kicks in, I'll mention it anyways. It's supposed to be later on, but yeah. SB19. K-pop copycat early on looked frowned upon until they were nominated in Billboard or they gained traction in another country. Only then did local pride kick in. Indie films. I haven't watched any of these, but On the Job, Ma Rosa, all celebrated at Cannes of Venice. Only then were local pride kicked in. Similar films struggles to do this because it's too much of an intellectual exercise. Beauty standards. Bakit gusto niyo yung mestiza? You got TikTok affiliates out here saying they're insecure for their babies. And the people that do want to be more lighter in skin are Upods, which I can't blame because there are some derogatory views where if you're a moreno, there's secret or hidden animosity instantly, especially from old Upods. Now tell me America is not a part of this. Well, actually Americans prefer some Filipinos more than their own. It's just sad that our own prefers others, but hey, I can't control that. I'm just observing. As a Ghooner, I do like some Ghooner pages here that suddenly emerged on my Facebook page. 2PH for you. Or 2FAW. I like calling them 2FAW. OCFM. PFRF. Feel ko magtatropa tong mga to, but I can't remember the other pages. Also, sorry for language switching. I'm just human. But I just said the FB pages for friends. I really like their content because, you know, it's not cringe. That's basically it. I just like them. And a lot of them are actually like proactively calling out social issues. And I like that. And that's how it's supposed to be. I like that because a lot of people don't have the strength to do that like me. More social media stuff. Aside from media figures, the actual culture happening in the platform or Upods is just so disgusting sometimes. I don't think you need to be a Ghooner to think like this. CongTV back then. Do you remember? Back then, he did a stunt with an adult actor actress, and all I could say was, who's the target audience? Crim students? When discriminatology happens, you may think I'm standing against this. No! Calling them groomers, Ghooners, eye-wandering, porn-addicted, FB and TikTok page full of thirst traps and all of the stereotype. Also worth to mention, of course, you may think now that Upods are basically the MAASIM. Yes, it fits the description. They fall into an Upod, but not in its entirety. Typical TikToks and typical Facebook content. Motovlogs. Also, motovloggers are mostly Upods too. I don't think if you're a woman riding a bike, you're an Upod. But hey, I haven't explained the 6 terms yet. Also, please don't attack me. I don't like saying Upods. I would rather call them mga Upod, but for the sake of the language of the video. Upods do have another branch of their own, 2 of them, which the other side also has, making 6. I said it earlier, but you weren't listening. But before dissecting Upod, because maybe some of y'all might get offended if you get called an Upod, and you got offended for the people that I called an Upod or typical before early on the video, let's switch to the other side first, which is Ghooners, which is where America or the West has a big contribution in. So let's actually cover every term first before proceeding to the 3 factors left, so it's not confusing for you. Ready? Go! So Upod and Ghooners is the umbrella term. They both have their mix of themselves, meaning the Upods can be Ghooners and vice versa. But if it is vice versa, there is a big difference. Let's start with Upod na Ghooner. Basically, Upod who has a bit of internet pop culture. I'd like to drop Ninong right here, maybe CongTV. I think it makes sense. So they're called Upod na Ghooner. This is just so fucking stupid. And the other side of that, let's call them Typical Upods, which is Upod squared. Basically, this is where the war freaks kind of just falls into. Crim student, motovloggers, a bit of a derogatory classist take, but it's the personality that makes them this way. I'm not sorry. You act certain ways, you get into certain situations, like this one. But of course, this isn't meant to be derogatory or place you in an economic class in the first place. I would put most of the Team Payaman members here. I saw a TikTok live of them and there were 3 people, Bok, Junie, and another one. I don't follow them so I don't know who. But basically what happened was, I think Bok was angry. Someone asked in the comment, live ba to? Oh, live to. Tapos nagalit si Bok. And then the other guy said, ganyan ba makipagano sa mga tao? Pag ikaw may-ari ng resto, may pumasok, may nagtanong kung bukas ba? Sasabihin mo ba? Tignan mo yung kalan, tignan mo yung ilaw, tignan mo kung malinis yung plato, tignan mo yun muna kung bukas kami. I don't, that's not my cup of tea, but others enjoy it a lot and find it funny. That's why I'm miserable. But yeah, let's drop some characters here that I said earlier too. Tony Fowler, of course, typical na Upod. Costa Clee, typical na Upod. Flo G, I think Flo G is Upod na Ghooner alongside Shanty Dope and Aljing. Nick Makino, I think typical Upod. Cyber Sigilism Microbanks Girl. Alam nyo na yun, typical. Gray sweatpants, double lining blue shirt girls. Yeah, mostly typical Upod, right? You get the pattern. Ev Abby, actually, he's on the Ghooner side. So I'll explain that later. Do you get the pattern? It's just, they're not like problematic or war freaks is what I'm trying to say. Taylor Swift listeners, I am sorry, but I'm gonna put you typical na Upod. But of course, the spectrum does get explained later, so don't be offended, please. Low taper, babe pants, wearing jacket in the heat, not high sock, Jordan 1 Glazer, SB Dunk, thirst trap, everything, fashion motherfuckers, typical, of course. I'm getting somewhere right. Hopefully you understand the pattern now. ML players, COD M players, typical na Upod, mostly. And Valo players, actually low elo Valo players, mostly typical na Upod. XC bikers, typical na Upod. People with braces, okay, I'm sorry. And yeah, and the Chooks TV thing that I said earlier, which the target audience is crim students. I feel like that would be the biggest insult to me ever. Just say, hey, I'm Kizep. Your videos target audiences are crim students. Let's make a tree diagram. So, Upod family tree is done. It's the Ghooners' turn. Ghooners can be Upod. As I said, let's just call them gums. Gooning until maupod. I'm sorry. I'd like to categorize most Filipino streamers here that isn't that well known or known. I might put myself here, but honestly, you decide. Tell me in the comments actually on what you think where I belong and where you belong too, if you understand my yapping. But back to gums. I would put Hebabi here actually. Al James. But also, Paolo is here. here, the FB pages that I mentioned earlier, the admins. Do you see the pattern? I would also put League of Legends and Dota players here because I think it's better than ML and COD M. Of course, they are typical ng mga Upod. But right now, you're probably wondering, how the hell does this correlate to why the West or America has a fault in all of this happening? Don't worry yet, alright? I'll get to that. Let's just focus on me explaining the roles first because I can't explain everything in a 15 fucking short video form. You need to get your attention span fixed. So there's another on that side, which I'll just call Ghooner-Maxer. I'm so sorry. This is where the fucking conyo bitches, annoying ass sons of asses come in, and everyone who doesn't roll their R's. And people, I swear, there are some people who think they are Ghooner-Maxed and they want people to think they're Ghooner-Maxed. It's disgusting. You need the approval of the West. I know so many people. I was like that before actually, and it's just fucking cringe to look back on. I would love to call out Umichi for this one since she did have an issue before about, you know, the personality, Filipino shaming. But yeah. And you know that one TikTok too? Chinese but Filipino features? What the fuck, dude? But here also falls the art people, the nerds. So a lot of the multimedia arts people, very artistic and things in that nature. They actually use their head on fights and stuff or arguments. But basically, the people with more EQ. And I say this, IQ is not considered here on Ghooner-Maxed people, alright? Basically the bundles of joy, I would think. But in this spectrum, there's also people here who has arc on humor, and well, they're rich, so more whitewashed, I guess. Basically the dull people. And I also want to add most of the people who falls into Upod na Ghooners and Gums is like, okay, yeah, it's Filipino with Western touch because inevitably, if you're an Upod, you will fall under the terms. And what I want to say is I usually interact with just the Ghooner-Maxed people since first, Upod na Ghooners and Gums are the type of people to like maybe make fun of me here. They will say something like, "Uy, pare gum pala tayo. Uy, pare Upod na Ghooner pala tayo." There's a reason why I put people here, and personality just matters so much. And I can take criticism, alright? Okay, the terms that I use are bad, I'm aware. But I will never take criticism to people I won't take advice on. I just hate these people. And I wanted to add a bunch of other terms on the spectrum, but the video will get bombarded too much. So let's not do that. Let's just generalize them into 6 terms. 2 umbrellas and 4 terms. Can you imagine if I add another term? Let's try to add another branch to the Ghooner-Maxed spectrum, but it's like the baby with Typical Upod. These are the conyo boys or girls who are annoying as shit and has a sort of classist or elitist view on things. The club and bar goers, car guys, F1 people, basically the rich. These are mostly Manila people, of course, but yeah, I hate socializing because I'm very picky with people. And the most opted one I choose to talk to is Ghooner-Maxed people, excluding the one I just mentioned. But in my mind, there is a big spectrum. And to communicate that with you, I just made it a smaller version, 6 terms. So now, since we have the whole tree diagram already, let's go back to what I said earlier. Why these 4 factors shape us and makes my country hate itself. Before proceeding on games, when did you think this all started? 1950s? The war? Or more later? 1980s, around the time Marcos Sr. was in his presidency. You do know there were still a lot of remnants of Western culture here. We did have Thanksgiving before, bet you didn't know that. But actually, all of it started at around 21-8. Yes. Just 7 years ago. 7 years ago where people started shifting patterns and people got extremely whitewashed. Here's Babi around that time, by the way.
Laila.
No shame, just for fun doing these things. And you know how he is now. I don't get why we have to get approval from the West from what we're doing in order for us to do something. Example, vlogging. This shit wasn't meta until 2018. And I say it all happened in 2018 as well because that's the time where everyone was on the digital world. Even a Facebook account for their damn baby. It was happening before, yet only digitalized. Around that time, early people who did this was, of course, do you remember? Buknoy. There was also Camel Trinidad and his boyfriend. Of course, the pioneer of blogging here in the Philippines. Now it's super saturated and I'm not sure when it did get saturated, but I'm pretty sure now everyone just does it. Games games have a play on it too. Let's say you're playing Valorant, and the clips you always see is more on Western creators. A lot of them is Western content. Alright, the early Holy Trinity too. Jack, Mark, and Pewds. Come on, they aren't actually American. I know that. The common audiences and fans is Western. So that's that point proven. It's actually still worth to mention since a lot of Filipinos actually circulated around their content or other similar creators, and it was gaming. So lo and behold, a lot of Filipinos play what they were playing before, and there's not much to say for gaming other than that. We get on the servers. It's not our local servers. It's either Singapore, Hong Kong, or other servers. Yeah, that's how straightforward it is for games. And now media. This is where it gets interesting too, I think. I'm sorry. At 2016, I was following Logan Paul and Jake Paul, and that time was peak. And now, TikTok stuff. There are so many Western stuff. I mentioned it earlier. Anyways, but to add up to that, of course, the people who we prefer to watch now are a bunch of other stuff or other people like Speed, Kaisanat, a bunch of streamers, Mr. Beast, and yeah, there's just so much more. Moist Critical, the Theory channels back when it was still MatPat, and not only content creators on social media, alright, sports, beauty, that type of media. I'm not sure about fitness, but I know Will Tennyson, documentaries, music, films. That's the only two left actually. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier on music, I can actually go so deep into this, but maybe for another video. Let's just do it fast. The rappers, what the fuck are these rappers doing? Rubembang sa droga. Of course, in a nutshell. That's why I like Babi actually. He raps and come on, R&B or rap romance, I don't think that can fall off easily, but yeah, it's all copied from the West. That's why it got saturated. And don't defend Abby here. He actually used a bunch of other Western artist beats, and yeah, it's pretty good because it's Western. But hey, I'm not shaming them, saying, alright, you guys aren't original. I'm just saying, for all the rappers, a lot of it is just the same. If you're gonna copy, why not do a twist? The only people putting in the works are indie bands. Remember how many people were hating on Dianella, I'm not fucking sure. I'm speaking to you Ghooners, especially the Upod na Ghooners. Jesus Christ, the hate he got, not only from just the lyrics, also his looks. Why? But yeah, that's Janella for you, Dionella. I think he's a good artist, but I'm gonna wait for Western validation first if he's a good artist, then listen to him. And now we're going into childhood. I'm sorry. Let me guess a random viewer's childhood with you. Alright, a random person watching this video right now, the kid version of themselves, they were at Qatar or Saudi or the Middle East, maybe Canada, maybe the US, but there's a bunch of people whose childhood was spent time away from the country. I know I'm speaking for a lot of people here. I know. What the fuck, may gamu-gamu ay? Kuya Kim, what is this? I know I'm speaking for a lot of people here, exactly spending their childhood in the Middle East, went schooling there, and went back to their provinces. And now you're back, and the culture makes you feel a bit weird for some reason. Well, I was born and raised here, so I really can't speak for them, but I know a bunch of people. I want to know how widespread this phenomenon actually is. The kids spending time in the Middle East. I believe there is a lot of you. Shoutout sa lads kung laking Middle East ka. Legends lang nakakaalam. And as a kid, the cartoons you watch, Cartoon Network, Disney, Nickelodeon. Come on, everyone had at least a TV. Babies now is just on Miss Rachel or Coco Melon, diba? If I had 1 peso for every time I heard the Coco Melon intro in public, I would have 213 pesos. It's not a lot of money, but that's a lot of Coco Melon intros. Do you see the thing? It's on the roots of our childhood, on where we get separated into the spectrums. Even way back, I grew up on Blue's Clues. New Gen now has Bluey. Bluey is goated. The food, McDonald's, but Jollibee better, of course. Kentucky Fried Chicken, said your grandparents. Pizza Hut, also said by your grandparents. And fuck-ass Shakey's. Ugh. The fucking chocolate your family member or relative bought from duty free. Come on. The names of your pet dog or cat whose name is Oreo, or any other name. Why won't you name your cat or dog Dato Puti? Main thing is, we're in a post-colonial country. Issues like classism, elitist, and colonial mentality will remain for a while. I agree with Wero saying the Philippines is a missed potential. So in a nutshell, our people doesn't have that much original stuff. So the things we do consume is mostly out of the country, like the 4 factors I mentioned. And since we're done with Western stuff, let's now begin with the Japanese glazer!
Anong ginagawa ni Didi Blow sa calculator? Si Blood by Einstein. Anong ginagawa line. No ginagawa ni Blood sa mga numero, siya ba ay si Tungtung Sahur o sus na babae o kontra sa mga furi gamit mga dark memes? Teka, alam ko na tina-type niya, teka! 6, 7